Right. So, good evening, friends. In this session, I'll be discussing about the neuroanatomy basics here. The second part of the CNS. Okay. So, the first thing written here, it's written that neuron. Under that, it's written that parts of neuron, and you have got cell body, axon. Okay. And it's also written that nucleus and ganglion. And nucleus, under the nucleus, is written aggregation of cell bodies in central nervous system. It is derived from neuroectoderm. What is ganglion here? Aggregation of cell bodies. Okay, remember that it is an aggregation of cell body. Aggregation cell bodies in peripheral nervous system. Okay, derived from neural crystals. Now, what is it trying to tell us is, so if you know the structure of a neuron here, right? This is the structure of a neuron. Right, this is a structure of neuron. This structure of the neuron has got, this is a cell body. Okay, this is a cell body, and this is an axon. Okay, this is an axon. Now, why are we understanding, or why we need to know the part of a neuron here, parts of a neuron? Because you need to understand what do you mean by nucleus. Okay, what do you mean by nucleus? Nucleus is, it is an aggregation of cell body in the central nervous system. So that's the reason in the further session we'll be discussing about different types of nucleus, like reference nucleus, all such of nucleus. So it's nothing but it is an aggregation of cell bodies in the central nervous system, and this is derived from, remember that it is derived from neuroectoderm, which we have already discussed in the last video. What is ganglion? Ganglion is an aggregation of cell body in peripheral nervous system. That's the first important point. What is a ganglion? Ganglion is an aggregation of cell body in the peripheral nervous system, and it is derived from where? It is derived from neural crystals. That, what is neural crystals, which we have already discussed in the last video, right? So that's the point we need to understand. What is a ganglion? It is an aggregation of cell bodies in the peripheral nervous system. Nucleus is nothing but it is the aggregation of cell body in the central nervous system. Since it is in central nervous system, we need to understand it is derived from the neuroectoderm. And as I told you that neural crystals, also known as migratory cells, you can just remember that it migrates to the periphery. So it is derived from neural crystals. Now, if you look into other important aspect, that is nucleus is also called gray matter. Okay, so we need to understand why it is gray in nature, because of the granules present in the nucleus of the neuron. Next, axons are also called white matter, which I have already discussed. Because why it is known as white matter? Because you don't have any granules present in the axon, so that looks like a white plane. So white matter. Now, the axons can form a fasciculus or lemniscus. And what do you mean by fasciculus? Fasciculus is nothing but it is a bundle of structure is known as fasciculus. So we need to understand this is one neuron. Okay, you got an axon, and this is an axon, this is a cell body. Now there are many neurons which combined, and form a fasciculus. Fasciculus is nothing but axons are white, also called as white matter. So bundle of this structure, bundle of these axons are fasciculus. What's the next important point? The next important point is the collection of axons in CNS is called the tract. So which have the same, if you look into this, the collection of axons. So this is the one neuron which is present, and this is the one axon. There will be millions of axons, or say there are many axons, they form a one bundle. Okay, so these collection of axons in the central nervous system, we name that as a tract, right? That's the reason which we have already discussed. Okay, now we'll be discussing about the pyramidal tract. Tract is nothing but is the collection of axons in the central nervous system. Now, collection of axon in the peripheral nervous system, it is a nerve. Where you got a peripheral nerves. Okay, the axons, collection of axons in the peripheral nervous system, it is called nerve, right? It is a nerve. In the CNS, it is known as tract, right? So that's the basic point we need to understand. But now let us deal about the glial cells, right? Glial cells. So what is this actually? So we need to understand one important point. You got different types of cells present in the central nervous system, right? So what are these? You have got, there are supporting cells. Okay, supporting cells. Now the first cell which is written here, it is known as astrocyte. Remember, it is an astrocyte. Astro Astro itself tells, I've already discussed, astro itself means a star shaped, okay, star shaped. Now what is the use of this astrocytes? The function is blood brain barrier, right? Blood brain barrier. So if you look into this diagram here, this is a star shaped, and this star shape is an astrocytes which is bounded to the blood vessels, okay. We'll be discussing in the further session regarding the blood brain barrier, but remember that you have an astrocyte. The function of the astrocyte is it maintains the blood. This is a blood, we say this is a blood brain barrier. The next important cell, that is the microglial cells, which have, hope you know the meaning of glial cells, microglial cells, okay. And the function of the microglial cells is the phagocytic cells. Next you have got something known as oligodendrocytes. What is the function of oligodendrocytes? All function of oligodendrocytes is myelin sheet formation in the central nervous system. What is Schwann cell? Schwann cell, the function of the Schwann cell is myelin sheet formation in the peripheral nervous system, which I have already discussed. How do you remember that? It is oligodendrocyte. O looks like an O. It is nothing but like a skull, cut section of a skull. O, you can just remember. Oligodendrocyte is a myelin sheet formation in the central nervous system. Schwann cell, it is a myelin sheet formation in the peripheral nervous system, okay. Next important aspect, that is an ependymal cells. What is ependymal cells? Ependymal cells are the cells which are present in the lining of the ventricles. That's the point we need to understand. Lining of the ventricles. So which I have already discussed here, ependymal cells, lining of the ventricles, right? So we'll be discussing in the further session regarding what is the ventricle and where exactly the ependymal cells are present, okay. So for time being, you understand astrocytes, they are the blood brain barrier. Microglial cells, phagocytic cells, oligodendrocytes, it is a formation of myelin sheet formation in the central nervous system. Schwann cell, myelin sheet formation in the peripheral nervous system. Ependymal cells, lining of ventricles. So the next important point which we need to understand before we conclude this video is where exactly they are formed, okay, where exactly they are formed. Now observe carefully here, right? Observe carefully wherever the structure, okay, the structure is, for example, you have a structure like ependymal cells which is present in the ventricles, nothing but a brain. Next you have an oligodendrocytes, myelin sheet formation happening in the central nervous system, and you have astrocytes which are present, okay, blood brain barrier. Now these three parts, okay, astrocytes, ependymal cells, oligodendrocytes, they are derived from neuroectoderm. Now what are the other two cells which are? The other two cells are microglial cells, which have already, if you look into this, microglial cells. So if you look into this is a microglial cell, okay. So if you observe carefully, the microglial cells, astrocytes, this is the oligodendrocytes, which helps in the formation of myelin sheets in the CNS. This microglial cells which is present in between, so phagocytic cells. So this is derived from mesodermal derivative. So microglial cells, it is a mesodermal derivative. Next, this is an I have already discussed here. Schwann cell which I have already discussed, that is the myelin sheet formation in the peripheral nervous system. So when there is a myelin sheet formation, in the peripheral nervous system, and I have told you peripheral nervous system mainly deals, once it goes into the mesoderm, it goes into different parts of body. So remember that Schwann cell is derived from neural crest cell. So that's all you need to understand in this video. Let's continue with the next video. Thank you.